If you put yourself out there, you're bound to encounter your fair share of haters. But a guy like Paulo Costa, he's one of the finest examples of a fighter that UFC fans love to hate. Costa definitely plays into his role as a villain effectively, brushing off PED accusations by citing his home brand Secret Juice, which has pretty much become a part of MMA meme lore at this point.
That will be funny to watch.
I feel like this guy's drunk, bro. Like, I feel like you're drunk. You've been drinking a little bit?
Not yet.
No, yeah.
But the dislike for Costa goes beyond his personality or his antics. No, for a guy who talks that much, he simply does not compete enough. Making one appearance in the octagon per year and spending that much time on Twitter roasting other fighters is a great way to watch your credibility disappear. He proved at UFC 298 that he's still a top 10 middleweight by turning in a solid performance against Robert Whittaker. Gotta see this guy in action more often. Out of everyone we'll mention on this list though, no fighter leans into his role as villain quite like Colby Covington.
My people, the blue-collar workers, you guys are my people.
He wasn't always the brash, outspoken character he plays today. When he reached a point where winning fights alone wasn't enough, he decided to totally uproot his entire persona.
I should have knocked him out. Brazil, you're a dog. All you filthy animals suck. I got one thing to say. Tyrone Woodley, I'm coming for you. If you don't answer the front door, I'm going to knock it in and I'm going to take what's mine. That welterweight belt.
And when he stepped into that packed arena in Brazil and told the crowd that their country was a dump before calling them filthy animals, one of the most memorable heels in UFC history was born. Sure, he's not likely to win UFC gold at this stage in his career, but Colby has set himself up for life by making a few major tweaks to his out-of-cage personality. Even those who can't stand him will at least admit that he's never boring. Where do we even begin with TJ Dillashaw? This uber-competitive jock caused a major ruckus within the MMA community when he exited Team Alpha Male abruptly, leading to Conor McGregor coining the now infamous title of Snake in the Grass.
Called you just ditch him?
No, I'm still there.
No, you ain't still there.
All right.
But TJ's turned himself into a villain for reasons that go beyond that split. He's insanely competitive, to the point where he's regarded as one of MMA's sorest losers, unable to accept defeats, no matter the circumstance.
He's looking at the greatest 135-pound fighter.
He also seemingly ended the career of his old teammate Chris Holdsworth by cheap-shotting him in the gym. And let's not even get started with that time he wasted an entire title fight by not pulling out of his Aljamain Sterling bout, despite the fact that his shoulder had popped out of its socket about 20 times during fight camp. Oh, did we mention that he also popped for PEDs? Yeah, TJ doesn't do himself any favors. The Ian Gary saga is one of the most bizarre things to ever happen to an MMA prospect. The fans began to turn on Gary when he started taking very personal and unwarranted shots at both Neil Magny and Jeff Neal in the media.
And your accuracy, were you surprised at all when you heard that it was a split decision?
No, I mean, here's the thing. Jeff Neal hits hard, and you got to give that respect to that guy. If not, I've seen him put many men down, and I've seen him hit them and take their lights out.
But things got truly strange when the fan base started to poke holes in his personal life, putting his relationship with his wife under the microscope and coming to some very odd conclusions. The fan base is so determined to hate Ian Gary that they're willing to overlook some facts and concentrate on some half-truths about his marriage. But hey, that's just MMA for you. And boy, has Ian handled the whole situation badly. Maybe the most universally disliked fighter in the sport today. Remember, if you're enjoying this content, be sure to leave a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you don't miss a single upload. There was a time when Israel Adesanya was one of the most well-liked superstars in the sport. He's certainly still popular. But over the years, a sizable portion of the fan base has turned on him, citing his bizarre behavior, egotistical framing of every loss, and an incredibly boring fighting style. Izzy has gone 4-3 in his last 7 fights, so he's definitely in a real make-or-break phase of his career, but there just seems to be a gradual shift in public opinion as far as he's concerned. The last stylebender has already done enough to warrant a spot in the UFC Hall of Fame. He's far from the universally loved rising talent he once was. Conor McGregor has a resume of controversies outside of the cage that can only maybe be topped by one man in the sport. But either way, people have been split down the middle on this guy for years. Once his fall from grace happened, we saw many fans of his jump ship. Look, you can't go around punching old guys in bars and expect to be as well loved as ever. And to make matters worse, the results in the cage just haven't been there. Conor is, in essence, more known for his Instagram posts and business ventures these days than his actual performances in the cage. Will that change in the future? Who knows, but if one thing's for certain, it's that time is definitely running out for him. Henry Cejudo plays a character with the same kind of wink to the camera as Colby Covington. His entire King of Cringe thing is total BS. He knows it's BS. We know it's BS, and most importantly, Cejudo is fully aware that we know he's full of it. But despite his insane work ethic and amazing resume in the cage, that hasn't stopped many fans from actively disliking this dude. Because let's be real, even beyond his King of Cringe antics,
Cringe Triple C, how we doing?
Cejudo is genuinely cringy. We mean in a way that's not intentional. It just comes naturally to him.
You're King Triple C.
And while nobody really hates Cejudo to the same level as people despise Conor or even Colby, there is likely a horde of MMA fans who are just praying to see this guy get KO'd every time he fights. If you grew up in the US, or anywhere for that matter, you probably know a Josh Koscheck. This unbearable jock was a real breakout star from the very first season of The Ultimate Fighter. He was another example of a guy who was so damn good at playing the villain because, well,
on his back, 15 seconds, big hammer fist, and get a big right.
It just came naturally to him. Koscheck's overbearing wrestling style was the bane of many fan favorites during his prime years. Who can forget when he pretended to be hurt by an illegal knee attempt from Paul Daly that missed during their fight? Yeah, if you're ever wondering why Daly got kicked out of the UFC, that's why. Koscheck was an amazing heel, and though he was hated at the time, he's remembered a little more fondly now. Sean Strickland has an extremely passionate group of supporters around him. Fans who are totally on the side of his no-holds-barred way of speaking on the mic. Strickland will speak his mind.
Alex you.
Oh, this that you fucking.
No matter what it is that comes out. I guess there are loyal supporters out there who really enjoy it.
Let's go! Let's go! Yeah!
But for all the love that this former middleweight champion gets, there are legions of fans who see him as an awful representative for the sport, especially when he got his hands on UFC gold. Strickland's worldviews might align with those of his supporters.
Wait, are you a homosexual?
I am not.
More often than not, his rants can sound like the ravings of a lunatic, and the fact that he's given a platform is the sort of thing that could only really happen in the modern day.
Fall! Why would you fall? Definitely not gonna get a performance if you keep not going down.
He's a great self-promoter and an amazing fighter. We can imagine that he's a nightmare behind the scenes for the UFC's PR team, a total loose cannon. And finally, we come to probably the biggest villain in UFC history, a guy who just so happens to also be the greatest fighter of all time, or close to the top, depending on how you look at it. Jon Jones is a ridiculously talented athlete, a born competitor with maybe the greatest set of genetic gifts.
Who do you think is the greatest UFC fighter of all time?
Jon Jones. So many world champions under my belt that I've defeated.
No one is a real promising threat to Jon Jones.
Any fighter has ever utilized to their fullest in MMA history, but that's only one side of this coin. Jones is also a total loose cannon in his personal life, and well-documented arrests, drug issues, legal problems, PED accusations, domestic violence incidents. These have become major parts of the Jon Jones story. Factor in that he is also clearly a psychopath with extreme narcissistic behavior. You've got a recipe for one of the most bizarre human beings operating in the public eye. And that means MMA, combat sports, or just celebrity culture in general. Jon Jones is not like any other celebrity figure you will ever see. A true one in a billion kind of dude, not always for the right reasons. If you enjoyed today's video, show your support by leaving a like and a comment before subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any content week to week.